Your Majesties, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for always returning. Trust you and you're so well and you are loving yourself. I know there's like always many thanks to all of you for the support you give to the channel. Thank you so much to our channel members, to our anonymous supporters, to all of you, my esteemed subscribers. You are loved, celebrated and appreciated. So today I want us to look into two things at the same time. That is to say, we will just go straight to the point. The first thing is some analysts that sat and then had a discussion that Russia helped America but got betrayed by the American government. Now, how do you think Russia helped America? You know, when you look at the relationship between the West and Russia, it's a tight one, okay? Because it's like there are two powers trying to fight for sovereignty and they really want to be recognized by lower powers in the world. Now, when you are into geopolitics, you understand very well what I'm trying to say. Now, this issue of betrayal, I am not surprised, okay? I know many Americans might not like it that, because there is this picture already that the West has painted about Putin. Especially, remember the time where it was like they were playing some child games. America will go do this, Russia will go do that. It's like you drag me, I drag you. They were doing that on the internet. That was a time where Putin had to come out and tell the world that the West claimed that Jesus is a white man, but actually Jesus has always been a black man. I'm using the word Jesus because that's what you like, that Yeshua has always been a melanated man, and that he has the picture, the old paintings of this man called Yeshua. He was never a white man, he was a black man, and it went viral that Putin opened his archives and he exposed to the world that the West have always lied to people because they wanted this sovereign power. They wanted people to fear them, that they are, all brothers and sisters of Yeshua, you see. So these are the things that went down, and the part of betraying is one thing that is common with the West. Okay, when you look at the relationship between Africa and the collective West, you discover that it's a really one-sided relationship. The West always love a one-sided relationship because they feel that they are superior to other people. They are superior to other races. If you didn't watch the other video where we were talking about they have always taken out, they've always been killing the Negroid races, leaders, prophets, and saviors. I think you need to watch that video because it explains to some level, to give you some understanding of what we are trying to explain here in this particular discussion. So we will get into that, then we'll see this whole power struggle between the French government and Russia, the French government and Russia in Africa, especially the Sahel. Remember, the Sahel have kicked out French power in their region, and it's like the French government and the Russian government are fighting for that particular position. Macron did everything to return back to the Sahel. He used every means. He used force at first. Force didn't work. He later started using diplomatic ways. It still didn't work. The European Union tried to help out to see that they retain their power in the Sahel. It still didn't work. So a lot of Africans are, it's one of you sent me something like Putin has warned or asked France to leave Africa alone because this is time for a new Africa, and that thing went out to a point, went viral. Remember when there was some issues in Nigeria, and some Nigerians in the northern part were seen with Russian flag. That also brought in some agitation within the system, and some of these young boys who are not even up to 18 were arrested by the president of Nigeria and were fined. Like, they were asked to pay huge amounts of money. Like, these are children who are not up to 18. The amount of money that they were asked to pay to build themselves is just, I don't know. You ask yourself, who advised Jagaban to make such pronouncement? It's a shame somehow that a continent like this, we still think this way. It's unfortunate. Now, when you look at the situation, you ask yourself, what is that thing that prompted the president of Nigeria to fine or to prosecute these children who are under 18 in this way? There is a force behind it. He might be trying to prove something to those who he is answerable to. And not long ago, we saw how he was welcomed in France, was given a grand reception with the French soldiers singing in Nigerian pidgin language. And you ask yourself, what is going on? So I'm going to take you through these discussions and then we'll continue from there, Your Majesties. The Russian President Vladimir Putin said that heightened Russian influence in Africa has caused an emotional reaction in French President Emmanuel Macron. Emotional reaction. Now, when you say emotional reaction, this is seen from how Macron acted and how he is still acting. Remember when Macron came out and told the world that Africa is his home and his continent? That is why I say it's like this power struggle is something else. It's becoming something else. Like you could see that from how some of those French guys were really speaking in Nigerian dialects, and you ask yourself, when did they sit down and learn this? So they took their time to learn how to speak in Nigerian pidgin language just to prove a point. Just to prove a point that Macron's home and continent is Africa. So he became so emotional, and at the process of being emotional, he acted in some ways, and I think that is what Putin detected. Okay, and he went further to say that I think there is some kind of resentment, but when we maintained direct contact with him, that's Macron, we spoke quite openly on this topic, Putin said in an interview. And Putin also maintained that Russia did not go into Africa and force France out, and that Macron's main problem was to do with Wagner being a Russian organization. That Russia did not go into Africa to force France out, and it's the truth. Sahel discovered themselves that Russia was the best ally for them to have communications with, to have dealings with. They felt that Russia plays more fair than France, and that is why Putin is saying that they didn't go to Africa to force out France, but Africans just saw that the best option for them was Russia, and that is why they decided to turn from France to Russia instead. So let's listen to what this analyst has to say.
Russia is leaving the West. I mean, it can't leave the West geopolitically because Russia's so big, it's half in the West and half in the unwest, right? Yeah. Geographically. But American foreign policy, NATO expansion, the unwise policies made in Brussels and Washington are driving Russia from the West.
No doubt.
And when you leave the West, where do you end up, Paul?
They are pushing exactly the
Where
kind
do
of
you
line.
end up?
Well, with China, of course.
And not only China, where else? All major powers that are not members of NATO, including Iran. So when Putin came to power, he was very much in the tradition of Gorbachev and Yeltsin. He wanted a strategic alliance with the United States. Who was the first person to call up Bush after 9/11? Putin. And he said, George, anything. And if you go back and look at what the Russians did to help the American ground war in Afghanistan against the Taliban, whether you think that was a good idea or not, that ground war, Russia did more to save American lives, Russian soldiers fighting men in Afghanistan, than any NATO country did.
No, Iran did more than any NATO country to help America.
But Russia had assets, unbelievable assets, and corridors for transportation, and even an army, the Northern Alliance, it had kept in Afghanistan. It gave it all to the United States. Putin wanted a strategic alliance with the United States, and what did he get in return? He got from Bush, the second Bush, more NATO expansion right to Russia's borders, and as I mentioned before, American withdrawal from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, which had been the bedrock of Russian nuclear security for 30 or 40 years. He got betrayed. And they use that word, предательство. We were betrayed by Washington. This is serious stuff. The pivot away from the West begins there and continues with these crazy policies that Washington has pursued toward Russia. It doesn't mean that Russia is gone forever from the West. But if you look at the billions of dollars of investment, you look at which way the pipelines flow, you look at Russia, Putin meets like 6 times a year, maybe more, with the leader of China. They've each called each other their best friend in politics. Trump meets with Putin, and we think, oh my God, how could he meet? I mean, it's normal.
Netanyahu just met with Putin. Nobody said a word.
But the point here is that Russia's been torn between East and the West forever. Its best policy, in its own best interest, is to straddle East and West, not to be of the East or of the West. But it's impossible in this world today. And U.S.-led Western policy, since the end of the Soviet Union, and particularly since Putin came to power in 2000, has persuaded the Russian ruling elite that Russia cannot count any longer, economically, politically, militarily, on being part of the West. It has to go elsewhere. So all this talk about wanting to win Russia to an American position that's anti-Iranian and anti-Chinese is conceived in disaster and will end in disaster. They should think of some other foreign policy.
All right, Majesties, that is a heartbreaking statement from the Putin there that we were betrayed by Washington. That is heartbreaking. Okay, betrayal, like you wouldn't understand the gravity of it except if you have experienced it in one way or the other, no matter how it is. If you have experienced betrayal, you understand where Putin is coming from. Okay, now after betraying Russia, the collective West, okay, try their best to defame Putin. Like, they are so good in this their job that they can make the whole world look at you as a bad one. And that was exactly what they did to Putin. When you call the name Putin, people pray and wish that Putin dies because they believe that he is unaliving Ukrainians for no reason, that he is a devil, a devil's reincarnation or a devil in person. But when you begin to look in depth into the game that is played by the West, I keep telling you, be careful. When the West tell you that something is good, oh my goodness, I just laughed. Oh, that is, I just laughed. But when they tell you something is bad, you still have to think twice. Because the one they propagate to you that it is good, why are they telling you it is good? It might not be good though, but because they want to take advantage of a situation, they will tell you this one is good. The one they tell you is bad might not be bad though, but because they need something, they are planning something, they'll tell you this one is bad, so you don't go there. Sometimes I look at Putin and I say this man is strong. Yeah, a lot of you have different opinion, no problem. This is just my own opinion. I'm just trying to share. Okay? Yeah, it's not entire like you mustn't accept everything I say here. I keep telling you. Everything I bring to you is not something you should do or you must accept. There are times when I look at the situations of, this whole geopolitics. I look at how Putin has been separated as the evil one. And it's like when the whole world is against you, just that kind of a feeling. When the whole world is against you, and you know the truth. You know who is the real devil. But they've done everything possible to turn the world against you and look at you as a real devil. But you are there, you know the truth. I think that was what prompted, or that was what gave Putin the push to do some exposure. Of letting the world know that these people claim they are superiors, they claim they are godly, they claim they are holy, okay? They claim that they are in charge, but because they are not in charge of anything, but they just want to manipulate people to make them think that they are powerful. The one they even say Yeshua Ma is not even one of them. He did that exposure which went viral. And guess what? The West and its media still looked for something to make it look like he's just blabbing. That's not true. Okay? To the point where many Westerners were like, what is there if Yeshua was a black man? There's no problem. There's nothing wrong whether Yeshua was a black man. It doesn't carry anything whether Yeshua was black or white. Yeah, you don't see color. But from the beginning, you have been telling the world that this Yeshua was a white man. That time, people did not have problem. A lot of Africans, reasonings and their brains were damaged because they have this belief that Yeshua was a white man and there's nothing good that could come out of them because devil is a black man. See, don't take this as a joke. Because you never had such thinking does not mean that people do not have. Go to interior parts of the continent, parts where they really have access to internet and see what is really happening.